All right. Hey friends, welcome back to another live feed on Sewing with Stacy. I am Stacy, and today I wanted to just go live and give you a quick update on this jacket restoration. This will kind of be the final update on it. What we were originally doing with this jacket is the cuffs were quite frayed out. You know, there's quite a bit of damage here, and we want to repair this, restore it, bring it back to life. And we had already replaced the sleeve linings. I already attached this one up at the shoulder, so this one is already in. I just have to do the cuff restoration on it, and I wanted to talk you through how we go from this to this. This cuff is now beautifully restored, not frayed, ready to wear with a brand new lining in it. And how we did that was, because we were replacing the jacket lining, we already had all of this taken apart. So to even further get into this cuff restoration, what you need to do is you actually have to split this cuff open even more so that we can lay it out flat. So we're going to split the angle here, we split this side seam, and now, oh, I got a few more right here. I do not have my industrial machine set up for tutorials right now, so that'll have to come later. Right now I am using my commercial home sew machine so that anybody can copy the projects that I'm doing. But I do have an industrial. I work with industrials pretty frequently, but I just don't have that set up for tutorial work. So today we're going to use our home sew machines, and we're going to be restoring this cuff. So as you can see, the fabric has actually split right here, and it's being held together just by the interfacing that's on the inside. So what we're going to do to fix this, and even this place over here where the fabric is not split, this is still, it's hard to see because this is black on black and I can only get so close with the camera, but this is pretty frayed out, and it's on its way to wanting to split apart. So overall, what we need to do is we need to reinforce with new interfacing, and then what we're going to wind up doing here is we will use some people use the brand Hug Snug, or it's just seam tape. It's very similar to just like a grosgrain ribbon, except it's very, very thin, has a nice finished edge, so it helps repair without adding the bulk. So seam tape, or like I said, the brand Hug Snug. Some people just call it Hug Snug, like you call tissues Kleenex. So so we're going to use some of that as well. And if anybody's asking what type of interfacing, I just have some black Pellin Shape Flex, so it's the SF101. It is the iron-on kind, so that it will very quickly heat, set, and bond right to the cuff where I need it. So what you would do next is you would actually split this open. Make this actually free from one another. And then once you have your interfacing, and I'm just going to talk you through this right now because it's a lot to go back and forth for me right now. It's only just me in the shop, but so what we would do is we would split this interfacing so that the fabric is free from each side, because we're going to treat it as 2 halves. I'm just using my snips here to get a really tight edge, and I'm actually going to clip out the excess interfacing. Interfacing is a woven bonding material, so like just like fabric, it because it's woven, it stretches, and that's why there is some separation here over time. But I want to clip out as much of the exposed interfacing as possible, because I really want to get that new interfacing on and get the edges of the fabric to line up as much as possible. So now that that is clipped out, what we would do is take this over to the ironing board. We would take our interfacing. If you have a hard time telling which side is the side that's quote unquote sticky, or the iron side, on this one it's a little easier to tell. This is very flat and smooth, just like regular fabric. This side, you can kind of see on here, all these little dots. Those are all the little glue dots. You do not want to put that to your iron facing, otherwise you're going to be getting some iron cleaner to clean your iron. So make sure that all those little glue dots are down. You're going to want to put this kind of on this side, and then on your ironing board, lay this very, very flat and try to like kiss those edges together, and then iron it so that it bonds on the back. Now, I would also recommend, because this is a sleeve restoration, this is just a sample piece, I would cut a full piece of interfacing to go over the old interfacing, just to give it that reinforcement. So once you have the interfacing on and set, and those edges are very, very nicely kissed together, you're going to say, well, you know, they're together, but there's still a gap. You know, what do we do about that? That is where your seam tape comes in. Seam tape, you can get fusible seam tape, but for this project, I have sew-on seam tape. Sometimes sew-on seam tape is a little bit easier to control right in the machine, but iron-on seam tape is nice because you can stick it down and then sew it if you want. So in this instance, actually, where this hole, I actually probably am going to split this and take this in just that little tiny bit to help with this hole. So what we'll do is then, once this is all bonded together and kind of stabilized, you'll take your seam tape and put it on the right side of the cuff. And you're actually going to run the center of the seam tape down this old fold. So what that means is that your new cuff, you are actually going to be taking the cuff up about 1/4 of an inch or less. So you are going to lose a minuscule amount of length on your cuff, but essentially once you get that stitched on, you can put your cuff back together, you know, do your corner miter, stitch this back together, stitch the side with the hole back together. But then that seam tape is your new edge on the inside of the cuff. So you have a beautiful edge once again with no holes or frays, and that seam tape just stays right to the inside, blends right in. It protects that edge that's split open, as well as it will continue to protect the edge that is still there and exists. So that is how you would do a cuff restoration. If you ever get into this project, I had mentioned in a video previously, you might want to go one cuff at a time, take apart one do it and then take apart the other, because when you're putting it back together, you might need that other cuff as your reference example of how it goes back together, because you are shifting some of these fold lines and things. So sometimes it's really helpful to have that reference point of how it folds back together, because men's suits cuffs are kind of a little bit of a origami here, if you can see that. And it's very easy to forget how it folds all back together. So that would be my biggest tip, is to take it one at a time, and yeah, don't be afraid to take it apart. You can always put it back together. And that is how you would restore a suit coat jacket cuff with a little bit of interfacing and some seam tape. So I hope you enjoyed kind of watching this process. I am going to go off camera now and finish this cuff, because like I said, it's a little easier for me to run around my workroom from my ironing board to my work table to my machine to get this done. But I just wanted to give you that last insider look as to how you really fix something like this on your favorite suit coat. So yeah, can make it look brand new once again. All right, friends, thanks for watching. I'm Stacy, and this has been a live feed of Sewing with Stacy on how to restore your jacket cuffs. I will see you between the seams.